The big question is, where was Sasha Banks at WWE Summerslam? And it's been pillar to posted all over the place. People looking for actual genuine information. It's been the talk of wrestling fandom since the days before it happened, but Sasha Banks disappearing in the days before SummerSlam has never been fully explained. Now, I made my report, which was disputed by other wrestling journalists and then confirmed by Becky Lynch, who stepped in to replace Sasha Banks. That suddenly made all of them go quiet again. But thus far, nobody has been able to make any clear report as to what happened and where Sasha Banks was. Now, there's a reason that nobody's been able to make a clear report as of yet, and that reason is relatively simple. It's not really our business, is it? This is something I really want to talk about. Firstly, given that the one person to actually report anything about it was shouted down falsely, why would anybody actually want to make any further reports? My report didn't say where she was, just that the WWE knew not to book her for the Go Home show. Becky Lynch then came out and said they knew a week in advance that she would not be attending, so didn't book her. That was apparently too much for some people. Secondly, once we were comfortably after the fact and Sasha Banks did not appear at SummerSlam, is it actually in any sort of public interest to report what happened with Sasha Banks after SummerSlam? As a journalist, I feel a responsibility to consider several things before I report literally anything. Public interest is vital, and it's one of the reasons I believe in free press rather than paywalls. Paywalls state that nothing is public interest because you have to spend money in order to access that information. It's not public interest, it's private interest. But I believe in respecting the concept of public interest. Why exactly does anybody think that it's in their interest to know why Sasha Banks wasn't at SummerSlam? Why do they deserve to know? Who decided that Sasha Banks is public property and that everything must be pulled apart, poured over and probed? Why is every facet of someone's life important to you personally as an individual? Over the last few years, wrestling journalism has shown itself to be what it actually is, and that is an absolute free-for-all. A gossip columnist popularity contest featuring gatekeeping, backstabbing and greed. How many of them would immediately share exact details, no matter how personal or how invasive, if they had those details? How many articles have there already been living on the Sasha Banks SEO trend just to say absolutely nothing? I'm still seeing reports saying Sasha Banks won't say where she was. How is that news? How is it in the public interest to say we still don't know this thing when you can just not know that thing? We have been trained to believe that we have a right to this information, but we don't. Most of the reporting I do is based on whether or not you should commit your time and your money to the WWE. I'm not here to scoop. I'm not here to put myself over. I'm not here to say, hey, I'm getting in ahead of everyone else. That's not journalism. That's not considering the public interest. That's just trying to make yourself a bigger deal. It really is. This is what has made me a clear and easy target for so many who do want to get these scoops, because what I'm releasing for free because of the public interest means money taken away from those with the paywalls who are only interested in generating as much cash as possible. This is why when I report about Sonya Deville returning to wrestling, a month later it turns up on a paywall, my name is never mentioned. They won't drive traffic to someone releasing information for free when they can make you spend money on it. There may come a time in which there is a public interest reason to report why Sasha Banks was absent. But until that moment comes, can we please relax a little and stop hounding Banks? This is a person. Wrestlers do not belong to us. Their lives are not our business and they are not our property. We could all afford to be a little bit more patient and a little more forgiving and maybe just leave the poor woman alone. Larry says the National Hide and Seek Championship started 4 days before SummerSlam. Coincidence? Oh, You may be onto something there, Larry. How you doing, mate? Michael just goes, preach! Sean says, I don't understand why fans make it their business to know wrestler or celebrity's personal life. It's not any of our business, and it never should be. It's the whole celebrity culture where everyone is just chasing celebrities around because, oh, you're famous, you belong to me. No, they don't. Welcome back, Dylan. Hope you're enjoying your lukewarm beer, which is still a victory over me. My Lucozade energy drink. Noob says we need to show some respect to the wrestlers as people. We do. We absolutely do. We definitely do. Connor says, so you're saying I should DM Sasha to ask where she was? Sure. That's definitely what I'm saying. Sure. And Bailey says, good points, Tom. Could also be creative did not write her in a match that week. They didn't. They knew she wasn't coming, so they didn't write her in a match. That's what I reported. I was called a liar for it. I was called a liar. And then Becky Lynch comes out and says, no, they knew. They knew. They knew she wasn't going to be there. Ridiculous. Connor says, it was a bit scummy of WWE to keep promoting the match when they knew it was not happening. I agree. That was false advertising. It should not have been happening.